please put your hands together for Mr. George Muteti, part of Optiven, one of our partners. Thank you so much.
At Optiven, we say that our job is to settle Kenyans, to empower professionals, business people to own property as well as free. And we are thinking globally. As you are well aware, the business of tomorrow, and even the business of today, is on social networking, online marketing. We have been using this, and for that reason, we are able to go places. The other day, myself and our CEO, Mr. George, we went to the United States of America, and we crisscrossed various states in the US in the month of June. And we were amazed to know that Optiven is a household name in the United States, courtesy of social networking and online marketing. And if you're in business and you're not in social networking, you're not doing online, then you are almost obsolete, becoming obsolete. When we hire marketers at Optiven, we normally facilitate them to get smartphones so that they can be able to, to access Facebook, to tweet. And for those who do not know how to tweet, we teach them how to tweet. When we're having promotional campaigns, we normally hype this on social media, on Twitter. We craft hashtags, and many a times we trend. And for that reason, you find that our products are a talk of the day in town. So when it comes to business trends in global market, advanced technology, you're gonna use advanced technology. That's and even we normally come up with very informative short videos. We're in YouTube. For those who want to know much about us, we just go to YouTube, Optiven Kenya. And this is because, people think in terms of building images in their minds. And so advanced technology, we want to make use of that. Again, to go globally, it's also good to do research and find out what's happening. There are what we call demographic shifts. Because, in these developed countries, you find that people are not giving birth as much. People have stopped giving birth. And so in, countries like Canada, the US, you find that the old people are very many. And so if, you want to come up with a product that would target old people, well, it's good to think of going global and you target some of these countries. Of course, in developing countries like here in Kenya, we've got quite young families. People are giving birth as much, and so if you come up with a product to target young people, to target families, it's a good thing to market in Kenya. You go regional in East Africa. It's important to bear that in mind. Now, in global marketing, major trends, we find that communication is key also to consider. Why? Because people are getting empowered. People know about the pricing. They know about quality. People are more enlightened. They can be able to differentiate products. And communication is key when it comes to trends in international marketing, demographic shifts. Communication is very key in this regard, and it's something to consider when it comes to global marketing. The other thing is innovation. People are becoming innovative. Like at Optiven, one of our core values, we say it's innovation. And, companies are spending a lot of money in hiring professionals who can innovate, who can be creative, and time and again you find that their products are differentiated, and that way they become relevant. Of course, we all know about product life cycle. Of course, there's the introduction stage, there's growth, then there's the maturity stage. And when a product reaches the maturity stage, if it is not, if the market does not do something, then it's gonna become obsolete, because people start duplication of the same, and for that reason, differentiation is key, is important, and it's important for people to hire professionals who are more qualified, so that they can be innovative, and that way their product is able to remain relevant in the market. And at times it's important, to tailor-make the products. Like when we went to the US, we went there with a product that could suit people there, because people there, they have got the dollar. The dollar is strong, is very strong. But again, we also realize that life is expensive in the United States, and people live on credit. So we came up with a product that could suit people there, and as such, they could be able to do a small down payment, and the rest they could pay in installments. And that's a thing to consider, maybe especially for those who want to kind of venture in real estate market, because again, in real estate you can realize high capital growth. The returns in real estate are just amazing. Another thing for those who are in manufacturing industry to consider, especially when you are going global, is on sustainability and environment. Of course, even the Chinese who are coming here to invest here, before they do anything, they have to undergo what we call environmental impact assessment, so that the techniques they're going to use, the practices they're going to use, you find that they are not harmful to the people in the environment, and so it's important, especially for those who are considering going to manufacturing, to come up with products that are sustainable, and when it comes to environment, it's friendly. It's very important also to bear that in mind. Notwithstanding is legal and ethical issues, because if you are to move, let's say, outside Kenya, you have to consider those legally, because your company has to be registered, and so are you able to comply, with the legal issues, the ethical issues in that particular country. Very important, very key to bear in mind. And again, also legally, when it comes to employment, you have to kind of think about it, because some countries like United States, they pay highly. For instance, a person who is unskilled, depending on the state, the least they can pay legally is not less than $12 per hour. Okay. And for those who go for training, because quite a number of Kenyans who go there, they go there and start schooling so that, they can increase their wage. They pay handsomely. But in some countries, you find that the the locals there, the local manufacturers there, especially in some countries in developing world, you find that they've got what you call cheap labor. They pay their people cheaply. And you know, for a foreigner who is coming in, he has to face that. You know, there's competition in that because, you know, the locals could pay cheaply. But how about you? Are you able to measure up? Again, the financial muscle is very key. If you are to go globally, do you have the financial muscle? Because there's a lot is expected in terms of investment, and there could be challenges like distance and time. You know, when we went to the US for almost a week, I suffered from jet lag because of different time zone. And again, the distance, you know, again, it can be very expensive. Like from here to the US is almost 20 hours flight. And as a company, it's good to consider, do you have the financial muscle, you know, to go global? Is very key, it's very important. But it's important to underscore the fact that online marketing through social media networks is very key. It's the business for today and for tomorrow, otherwise gonna become obsolete. Thank you very much. Once again, my name is George Muteti, Profit Advisor with Optiven Limited.
Thank you so much. A round of applause, please. You may go up. We've heard from the speakers clear pointers there. We want to now just take 3 questions. They will respond to that. Then we go back for another bunch of questions.
I remember Dr. Bitange, you drew a policy to bring up Konza City. So many Silicon Savannah, Silicon, Google, other companies, they were quite interested in coming and setting up base in Konza City. What happened?
I'd want to ask a question to Dr. Bitange. You had mentioned, or rather referred to, a change of attitude in our society when it comes to going to the next level. And my question is with regards to creating an enabling environment for entrepreneurs, because I've seen a lot of very talented young people with brilliant ideas. Some would basically come up with a tomato paste rather than importing them, but the question is, how do we then create an enabling environment for them? Because the honest truth is that for a young person who's going to come up with a brilliant idea, business idea, walking to the bank to have money so that they can actualize these ideas into real business is not possible in this environment.
Thank you so much. We'll just take those questions, so our guests will respond to that.
The problem that we encountered in Konza was that there was a transition from the old constitution to the new one with the land commission. Any public land is run by the National Land Commission. I don't think the National Land Commission have quite understood the objectives so that they can facilitate the faster movement or allocation of the land. And also we still have local problems where people want the land and they are not building anything. So those are some of the teething problems. As with Nyayoka, it was a wonderful idea. We could actually be in the same league as Malaysia, because the Malaysian car, what started making Malaysian cars was the machine that was imported from Japan after we had imported. Now we are importing Malaysian cars from the same machine. We never moved forward with our Nyayo car simply because people started complaining that it is costing 5 million to make 1 unit. And that was media at the time. And I don't know why we listened to media. And the machines are still lying there. The question on the youth and local venture capital is still a very complex issue. There is no good idea that cannot be funded. Number two, local people have never understood the youth. And I've said that several times. We look at the youth as a problem instead as an opportunity. We must begin to look at the youth as an opportunity, listen to them, and see whether we can fund some of those projects. But in the meantime, before local people can begin to invest, we need to redirect some of the money from the youth to support ideas that are scalable, such that they can move forward. You said something about Google. Silicon Valley is an ecosystem where the government bank, which is called the Small Business Administration, supports those startups. We don't have the equivalent here. And that is what we had intended to do if we build the whole ecosystem in concert, for example, which understands the behavior of the young people and which can absorb failure. Israel has succeeded because they have the office of the chief scientist, and there is money that is channeled through there to support those projects, and they accept failure. We have not reached a point where you can tell us that the project I started failed. In fact, you would go to jail. But failure is what leads to success. I think we need to open up. There are some cultural issues that we must begin to sort out.
Perhaps just before Muteti you respond, just a follow-up question. The idea that we can sometimes sit back and watch what's happening in the media, especially in regards to deals reached by the government, what can individual entrepreneurs do to be actively involved? Because ultimately, such deals will definitely impact their businesses in the end.
Very few Kenyans read even the newspaper. We don't access finance, especially the small enterprises, because nobody knows us. Not even the banks know. Yet, you said 82% of businesses in this country are informal, and nobody sees us. What India has done is they have created a rating agency. They say Muakas is a small enterprise, adheres to normal accounting standards, and they bank here. They have been doing so well. Then you are rated. Then you are visible that you are bankable. Right now, we are like people who love a woman but winking in the dark, hoping she would see, and it doesn't work.
Thank you. Just a quick question, a comment here. Anytime you're looking at the newspapers, actually, apart from just going to the part where there are businesses, a news piece can actually open up a business opportunity. For instance, what's happening in schools, definitely there's business for people who are in fire extinguishing business, CCTV cameras. I mean, you can begin to look at news in that way as you provide solutions. Psychologists as well, counselors, exactly. Talk to them, exactly. All
right. In regards to the guy who asked about, government coming with a good policy in regards to a few things, if I like, for instance, the cities like the Konza city, for instance, it's important to know at times that good policies may exist in written papers, and some governments around the world, they are good and in coming up, with beautiful policies. But when it comes to the implementation and follow up, it's a challenge. Could be that may happen, in the government, even here in Kenya, and at times it could be good, to come up with like a Ministry of Monitoring and Evaluation, to monitor how about, if a policy is crafted, is it being implemented. In regard to the guy who asked about, young people coming up with excellent, beautiful ideas, we want to tell you that it is possible. Like for instance, at Optiven, we are coming with what we call good to great talks. And the aim is to create 1 million entrepreneurs. And this is a forum whereby we will be able to listen to ideas, young people with, good creative ideas. We listen to them. Once we listen to them, we mentor them. After mentoring them, once they mature, we hand them over to the banks, and that way you can be able to grow. And so, as Mr. Bitange Demo mentioned, any idea can the things we see today are as a result of, in the first place, it was our idea, and through mentorship and funding, now we have got what we have today. It's possible. It is doable.
So let's take other questions. So we could take one here.
If someone was to start here, they decided, okay, they want to get visible, they want their products and services out there online. What are 3 things that you could tell them to start on? And what are the trends on social media? Because Facebook just recently came up with a policy whereby your pages won't be visible the way it has been free. So right now you have to pay. You already paid for people to like your page, but you also have to pay again so that people see your posts, your daily posts that you put there. So what are some things that we can do so that we can catch up with that? Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Snapchat. What can you recommend right now for businesses that are starting?
When internet came on board, I believe it started somewhere in Europe, and soon the whole world caught up with it, including Kenya. And it's a case of when Europe or the Western world coughs, Africa, Kenya catches the cold. And now we are part of the internet movement. Now we have seen a new trend of robotics. I was amazed the other day, Amazon are right now doing some tests on drones to do delivery as opposed to people. And now I'm wondering, soon, just like we caught up with the internet, we may also catch up with the robotics. And the question is, what is driving this craze to displace people with machines to work? So what are people supposed to do, those who are being displaced, because millions of people will be rendered jobless? And when it comes to Kenya, so the first question, do you think it will come to Kenya soon? And number 2, what should Kenyans do, and especially especially those who are employed, to brace themselves for that time when the robots are coming to replace them at their places of work? Thank you.
Thank you so much for those questions. You could start.
All right. Yeah, with the lady who asked about social media, what we can do, because that's the next business is in social networking and online marketing. I think it is imperative for companies, for the top management, to set aside adequate funds, to empower their staff. To empowerment and capacity building is very key for the staff to be trained, and also to have got enough finances, to spend when it comes to social media. That is very key.
Anthony's question is great. Actually, we are already on the bandwagon. On Kericho Road, young people make 3D, and I have seen locally made drones. All of these go into improving productivity, and they create new jobs. The problem is that we never catch up with retraining ourselves to take new jobs. You see, in 1982, President Moi issued a directive that there should never be computers in government offices because they are taking the work of secretaries. Yeah? Ever since the computers were introduced, we have had more secretaries employed because the processing capability improved, and people became more efficient. You are able to check your ID online and other things. All these technologies create thousands of jobs. It's just that you don't see those jobs. Germany today, which has automated most of its industrial production, requires almost 1 million people to run those robots to do some things. in the future, in another 5 years, you are not going to buy medicine from the from the duka, because the medicine you buy is on an average, they say 70% of the people are healed by Panadol. There are people who take Panadol and they are still crying that the head is still paining. They are going to customize. They look at your DNA, they look at your blood, and then they customize. Even shoes, you are actually going to print them. You put your leg there, because the shoes you buy are on average, people walk the same. But if all of you walk, some are finishing them this way, some are finishing them inwards, we never get the right thing. So if you make your real shoes to your leg, it would prevent you from injury and stuff like that. So there is a lot more work that is going to come from new technologies, yeah, and there are some jobs that are irreplaceable. If books are delivered to people, some people still have to write books, isn't it? Some people have to write those books. People would have to eat. People would have to cook. I don't think there is a robot that would cook ugali. Yeah, although they are still trying to make such. So as we improve on efficiencies, it creates thousands of other jobs behind. So you shouldn't fear. What we should say, we need to retrain people to take up the new jobs that are coming.
So we want to really come to that place where we want to wind up. But thank you so much for your questions and your comments. A big round of applause to our guests. Asanteni sana.